Have you ever kept a dream journal? I like to keep a dream journal. And no, I don't keep it in a fancy hardbound journal or those that are leather with a clasp. I'd like to have those kinds of journals too, but no. I only write it in my phone. I write my dreams in a memo app. I like keeping track of my dreams. I want to know if I go back and reread them, if I'll be able to find a pattern in the dreams that I have. While I don't write every single dream, I try to write down the ones that I just want to remember. And if I don't write it the moment I wake up, I would forget it. Dreams are amazing, amazingly strange, and at times so fantastical. In dreams, I'm often taken to fantastical worlds, whether with friends, family, or new people or characters I don't seem to recognize, and go do fun stuff or weird stuff. That happens. But that's just what makes dreams so interesting. What are dreams? Do we all dream? Now, sleep is one of the states of consciousness. We typically go through 4 stages of sleep: NREM 1, NREM 2, NREM 3, and REM sleep. Dreams mostly occur during the 4th stage of sleep, known as the rapid eye movement stage, or REM. In REM sleep, our body remains unmoving except for our eyes, which move around a lot, hence its name. REM sleep occupies the greatest percentage of sleep in the individuals and species that sleep the most total hours. Research suggests that we all have dreams, even those that claim that they don't. What kind of dreams do you usually have? Mine are usually hard to explain, which is why I sometimes end up not writing them because I don't know how to describe the location, the general events, or the people who I've been with in that dream. I'll share one dream I had. Let me get my phone. I had this dream around March 6th. First, there was this tsunami running through a city and this fat witch complaining about why everything has to be her fault. A tall, suit-clad man was with her trying to explain that it's her fault because there are people that want to kill her and stuff like that. And then, as they are on the bridge, the tsunami wave reached them and they ride the wave. Yeah, I'll just end it there. It was strange. Now, what's up with that dream? Dear brain, why that dream? Why do we dream? First, let's talk about sleep in general. Research has shown that sleep, aside from energy conservation, enhances our memory. It helps people reanalyze their memories. One way it does that is by removing the less successful connections. Just think, every time we learn something, our brain strengthens some synapses without making adjustments elsewhere. The more we learn, the more there would be brain activity. By the time we reach middle age, in order to avoid too much activity, our brain weakens or removes some synapses in order to strengthen the others. Weakening less appropriate synapses emphasizes the ones strengthened when awake. In REM sleep, there are 2 hypotheses regarding its function. One is, as I've mentioned, memory enhancement. The other hypothesis is that it's to get enough oxygen to our corneas. Our eyeballs move around to get oxygen to areas of our corneas. It may sound quite strange, but there is research regarding this. Now, moving on to dreams. There are perspectives regarding dreams as having special meaning, like visions and prophecies, but here I wouldn't delve on that side of what dreams are about. I'll only be talking about the biological perspectives on dreaming. There are 2 biological explanations about dreams. First is what psychologists call the activation synthesis hypothesis. According to this theory, our dream represents the brain's effort to make sense of sparse and distorted information. The part of the brain that plays a major role here is the pons. The pons regulates brain activity while sleeping and dreaming. The theory is mostly based from haphazard input originating from this small part of the brain. This theory can explain some types of common dreams, and one of them is the dream of flying or falling. Based on this theory, we dream those types of dreams because while we're sleeping, we're lying down. And the pons interprets that as falling or flying. Another type it explains is the dreams where you're trying to move but you couldn't. While we're sleeping, our motor cortex is inactive and major postural muscles are virtually paralyzed. So, while we're dreaming, we really cannot move. That theory may seem sound, but its predictions are vague. Because if so, why don't we always dream of flying? Why don't we always dream of falling? Why don't we always dream of trying to move but couldn't? Another biological explanation for dreams is called the Neurocognitive Hypothesis. This theory views dreams as thinking processes that happen under unusual conditions. It suggests that dreams begin with spontaneous brain activity related to our recent memories. Dreams mostly come from the brain's own motivations, memories, and arousal. While we dream, there are parts of the brain that are suppressed or have decreased activity. First are the primary visual cortex and primary auditory cortex. Decreased activity here means that other areas become free to generate images without interference. Another part that is suppressed is the primary motor cortex. Because of that, arousal doesn't lead to action. The prefrontal cortex is also suppressed. This is why we lose track of what has been happening in our dreams. There are sudden scene changes we can't plan, and we let things happen, usually. Suppressed activity here is the reason why we forget dreams when we wake up. Those are the parts of the brain that are suppressed. On the other hand, there are parts of the brain with heightened activity. The inferior parietal cortex, inferior meaning the lower part, which is behind our visual spatial perception, other parts of the visual cortex which controls visual imagery, and the hypothalamus, amygdala, and other areas in charge of emotions and motivation. So, according to this theory, either internal or external stimulation activates parts of the parietal, occipital, and temporal cortex. The arousal resulting from this then develops into hallucinatory perceptions, with no sensory input from other areas to interrupt or override it. That is, these brains just go wild as they process our memories and information. Those are the two biological theories as to how and why we dream: the activation synthesis hypothesis and the neurocognitive hypothesis. Dreams are an interesting and still rather mysterious topic, and there are still a lot of research going on trying to find out more about the mechanics and inner workings of dreams. Dreams are difficult to research though because they're hard to quantify. And as I've mentioned before, we usually forget dreams after we wake up. According to dream psychologists, though, there's a way to train ourselves to remember our dreams more. There is this process or technique that they call dream incubation, which involves telling yourself before you sleep, I want to remember. I want to remember. I will remember. It's like prepping ourselves, cheering ourselves on. Dream psychologists also suggest getting more sleep and waking up naturally. They say when trying to recall and you can't remember anything, just write whatever is on your mind. Rehearsing this information can help too. Alright, on to my next point. Now I know I have been talking about this subject happily, being excited and all, encouraging you guys to remember your dreams, but I'm not forgetting about the fact that there are people who don't want to remember their dreams at all. Or they don't like sleep because they don't like their dreams. They get bad or sometimes even terrifying dreams or nightmares. Nightmares differ from night terrors. Nightmares are bad, sometimes violent dreams, and there are two types of them. First are the metaphoric nightmares, which are experienced by more children than adults. They are of garden variety, meaning the themes that usually come up are common to a general population or culture. These dreams are normal to a certain extent, and some even don't really mind having these kinds of dreams. Some enjoy these dreams for the thrill factor like in horror movies, while there are others that feel like they can learn something from them, as if the dreams are pointing out something that they're anxious about or hadn't thought of. The second type are post-traumatic nightmares, experienced by those who have gone through traumatic experiences. These nightmares tend to be similar to the experiences that they've gone through, and can range from being distorted to being very realistic. They can also go further than that, where in the dream, what the sufferer feared the most to happen actually happens. Metaphorical nightmares are generally okay, while post-traumatic nightmares may cause significant distress. Thankfully, there are ways to help sufferers overcome these nightmares. One way is coaching them to wake up from these nightmares. The other way, which seems to be the more effective, is advising them to come up with alternate scenarios or alternate endings to these nightmares. Experts advise them to come up with these and practice them at bedtime. A scene or a scenario where they are saved by someone, or a scenario where they manage to fight back. This is a variation of dream incubation and works for a lot of people. Some end up dreaming the alternate dream and never the original nightmare again. So you see, dreams are difficult to explain and understand, and much research are still being done to try to find answers to its mysteries. Dreams may be strange or fantastic, but at the same time, they can be terrifying or distressing. We've only delved on the biological explanations of dreams. Of course, there's another side to interpreting these dreams, the more exciting side, that sees dreams as having meaning. That's another subject to touch up on, and I suggest reading more about that if you're interested. Sleep brings a lot of physical and mental health benefits, and as we've gathered, dreams do too. There's still so much to learn about dreams. In fact, some of the questions that I've asked in this video still do not have conclusive answers. After knowing about what we can know about at the moment, it becomes exciting to look back on those dreams. And if you're like me, try to piece together why we have those kinds of dreams. Have you had interesting dreams you'd like to share? I'm sure there are those who'd also like to talk dreams. And it can be fun talking about dreams with like-minded people. Now that you know all these things, and hopefully are more interested to learn more, I wonder if you'd like to keep a dream journal now too. Thanks to our sponsors.